So our next speaker is Maria Talakina. She has been leading the FIFA Market Research Program for the past 4 years and has continued to do so here in Qatar for the upcoming World Cup 2022. She has been working with the Union of European Football Association on developing women's football strategy, as well as being a part of the women's sport group at Nielsen for the Middle East, North Africa, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. This is a group of experts in women's sports from across the globe. She is here to discuss promoting balance through sport.
Morning, everyone. I think I need to apologize in advance. I'm shaking and my voice is shaking. I'm still trying to get used to the air conditioning, and it's surprising because I'm Russian and I should actually be okay with the cold, but somehow I'm not. So if my voice is shaking, I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to warm up myself. It's a great pleasure to be here, honestly, and I'm really new to Doha. I moved to Doha in April this year, and I was really surprised to see how many different events are happening here, how many great people are gathering together. Doha Women Forum is an amazing opportunity to meet everyone and to speak about various topics concerning the balance and equity and equality, and I'm really honored to be here today. So before I start speaking about balance in sport, when we talk about FMCG and the CPG industry, many corporations target women as a main decision maker in the economy. And that's true, women do make decisions for the entire household. In fact, they occupy over 30 trillion or 30% of the world's wealth. And it's interesting to see that the Boston Consulting Group predicted that women will hold or be in charge of around 75% of excessive world spend. And that's incredible. It means that women is not only a target group for corporations that are hunting for the share of wallet, but the power of women is also increasing every single day. But when we think about sports, and we all know previous speakers already talked about that, women are really underrepresented in many areas and in many industries, and sport is not really an exception in this case. So the statistics is quite sad right now. For every million women out there, there are 1.5 more men practicing sport each and every week. And I think that actually represents a not very balanced world. But the good thing today is that we live in the world of change, and we do see change happening. The balance is moving, and it's great to see examples of how corporations, how companies, organizations, and actually society is changing perception and moving toward balance, toward the better balanced world. In my role at Nielsen, I was actually really lucky because we've done lots of projects on women in sport and women's sport. And one of the interesting projects that we've done was around building the women's football strategy. And I was lucky to learn from many examples of great women pioneering out there, creating that balance, moving the world towards the better balance. The companies like WNBA, WTA are the great examples. But still, you know, when we talk to various experts, Marike Fleuren, Marike is holding a position in the Euro hockey, and she's had a very interesting and very common, I think, phrase in this case. There are lots of women out there. There are lots of girls practicing sports. They're playing sports professionally. They're working in business of sports, but yet women are not treated in the same way as men. But if we think about women's sports and the perception of women's sports in society, lots of things change now, and I think that's actually, again, it's a great example of the time that we live right now, because a lot of change is happening and the society is changing its perception towards the women's sport. So when we asked fans globally, what do they think about women's sport and men's sport, and they told us that the women's sport is actually perceived inspiring, it's perceived progressive, it's family-oriented, it's much less money-driven, and it's also quite as skillful as the men's sport. So how do we move the balance? How do we make a step towards the better balance? I think all starts with the grassroots. So grassroots is actually a platform for everything. There are lots of women and girls out there willing to play sports, willing to choose the sports that they play, and they're looking forward towards the better future. But it's also a professional sport. So a lot of women athletes out there who had to overcome different challenges to be who they are today. And it's also a business of sport where we all know that women are not really represented in the higher positions, they're not represented in the councils, and that has to change as well. And it's also sport fans. So the sport fans are also craving for women's sport content on the TV, digitally. They would like to attend live sports. They would like to enjoy the women's competitions in the same way as the men's competitions. So today I'm going to show you just a few examples. There are many more out there. You have probably seen them in the news, in the media. But there are a few examples that I personally like, and I think they actually showcase how the world is actually moving towards the better balance. So I will start with the grassroots, and I'm going to show you the video. The grassroots is all about accessibility. When we spoke to girls, what prevents them to go and play sports? They always say it's about facilities, it's about other girls to play with, it's about the sports that they're choosing. You know, they say football is men's sport, hockey is men's sport, boxing is masculine, but who said that? It's actually society. So when we look at the barriers that prevents girls to play sport, it's all about perception, it's all about support from the family, it's all about facilities that accessible for these girls. So the video that I'm going to show you is the campaign from the Sports England. Sports England is the association that drives the participation on the grassroots level for girls and women out there in the UK and also globally.
Let's go!
Hit me. Mississippi putting it down. I'm the hottest round. And if you want me, y'all can stop me now. Is you with me now? Then biggie bounce. I know you dig the way I switch my style. Get your freak on. 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 People, here I come. Now sweat me when I'm done. Now people gather round. Now people jump around. Get your freak on. Get your freak on. Get your freak on. Quiet! Get your freak on. 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 Get your freak on.
I'm knackered.
So this girl can campaign is, I guess it's very famous. Thank you. This is my personal favorite, honestly. It's very old. I think they launched it in 2015 or 2016. They launched a new ad just recently, and that actually shows that participation is increasing because the message that you give out, message that you tell to the UK society or to the world is so powerful that it makes women to rethink and go out there and do sports, and I think that's great. So when we think about professional sport, again, the world and the time that we live right now is incredible because there are so many changes happening in professional sports right now. For the first time in the history, Women's World Cup 2019, FIFA treated in the same way as men's. So that means that the same level of training pitches, the same TV coverage, the same level of organization. So practically, women can now enjoy the equal or same level of organization and experience of the tournament, which is absolutely great. And sponsors are coming towards that change as well. So Visa announced just this year and that the payment they make or support they give to the men's sport will be equal to the women's sport will be equal to the men's sport. So practically, now they support both men and women's sport absolutely equally. Nike is another great example. For the first time in the history, Nike presented the women's football kit for the Women's World Cup. I think that's great, that actually women can now have their own kit to go out and play football. It's amazing. I've been to the Women's World Cup myself. We've done studies there, and the level of organization and the number of fans who came in to cheer is incredible, and the atmosphere is incredible. Another great example is the Rugby World Cup. So the Rugby Federation finally announced the gender-neutral tournament naming. So now there's no Women's Rugby World Cup or Men's Rugby World Cup, it's one Rugby World Cup. And I think that's great. That's another great step towards the better balance. Business of sport, again, is a great field where everything is
Women's football is booming. At FIFA, we're committed to its continued growth and success.
So the Rugby Federation announced their strategy in which, as of next year, at least 30% of women will be represented in the council. Well, it's 30%, but it's still a great step towards the better balance. Sport Leaders Conference in London that is happening the week after next, I'm sure many of you will come and enjoy the conference. They announced, again, for the first time in the history, that the workshops, the speakers, the programs are now better served towards women as it used to be before. Another great example, the video that I'm going to...
How are we going
Not now.
to do that? Here's a quick snapshot of our strategy.
The video that is playing, anyway.
We have three big goals: to grow participation, to enhance commercial value, and to build the foundations of the game. And we'll get there by focusing on 5 areas: develop and grow. This means teaching, mentoring, and developing skills and talent from the grassroots up, for women in football, on and off the pitch. The second area of our focus is to showcase the game. This means bigger and better tournaments for countries and clubs. The third area is to communicate and commercialise. This means bringing the stars and the stories to the fans in different ways. Fourth, we will look to govern and lead. This means more women running the game around the world, contributing to the governance of the game and ensuring that reforms are implemented where needed. And the final area of our focus is to educate and empower. This means unleashing the power of the women's game to make a positive difference in the world. So that's a quick look at our plan. Success will mean we achieve some very specific and exciting goals, and they include 60 million women and girls will play football. We'll double the number of women's youth leagues. Every member association will have women on their executive committee. And we'll have a broadcast audience of 1 billion for the Women's World Cup in 2019. We're committed to this strategy and these goals. The success story of women's football is just beginning.
That's an incredible message, I think. And if they realize the strategy and if that will become our reality next year or a couple years after, I think we already could say that we made a great achievement towards the balance. So finally, fans. Fans is also an important component of the whole sports ecosystem, and fans are actually craving for more women's sport content out there. They can now finally enjoy better TV coverage, better digital coverage, more women's sport in the news generally, and they can also enjoy attending the women's sport live or generally the sport live as a woman. One of the countries in the region has finally announced that women are able to come to the stadium and enjoy the game of football. And I think that's also a great example of, making that step towards the better balance. And one of the clubs actually followed this announcement, and they sent a powerful message to the society. So club fans, males and females, are support of this club, and success is not complete without them coming together to serve this historic entity. With you, the scene is complete. And I think that's, again, it's an incredibly powerful message to say, with you, the scene is complete. And that creates a lot of opportunities for the companies, for the organizations out there to follow the change and make a step towards the better balance. Again, when we asked fans globally, 38% of the fans told that they would have liked to follow the women's coverage, the coverage of the women's sport digitally if it was available online for free. 48% of fans would have liked to watch more women's sport on the TV, again, if that was available. So that's an enormous opportunity for all of the corporations, all of the companies, all of the organizations and society out there to go and grab this opportunity and make a better change. So how the future will look like, well, we'll see. Remember, I told you about for every million women out there, there are 1.5 men more practicing sport each and every week. So we'll see how it's gonna change, because I think that's gonna change for sure. And for the last word, we do a lot of analytics and we publish a lot of reports. And if you would like to learn more about women's football or women's sport, please go ahead to our website, download the free report. More than happy to help you if you have any questions. Thank you.